Hello, welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Kate Harper, the 61st Legislative District in Montgomery County. Today, we're coming to you on site at the North Penn Fire Company. We want to talk about being a volunteer fireman, being a volunteer at the fire company, even if you don't run into burning buildings with heavy equipment, and what the fire service needs from us, the members of the community, these days. With me is my guest, Chief Mike Janssens of the North Penn Fire Company, located right here in North Wales and serving North Wales Borough and Lower Gwinnett Township, and also backing up Upper Gwinnett Township. Isn't that right, Mike?
That's correct, Kate.
All right, good. What I usually do is have my guests tell the people a little bit about themselves. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get interested in this? And what's your real job? Since I know this is a very big job, but it's a volunteer job.
So, Kate, I actually started, I grew up around a firehouse. It's been in generations in my family. I actually grew up in the Colmar Fire Company with my dad and lived in the Harleysville area where I actually started my career in the fire service 17 years ago. Been doing it since I've been 16 years old, but like I said, always grew up in the fire department. I actually have a full-time job as well. I work for Axe Life Retirement Communities as a project manager for the Northeast region, and I have a 2-year-old son. So between the firehouse work and my son, I keep busy all the time.
It sounds like it very much. Okay, today we want to talk about the fact that in the 70s, there were hundreds of thousands of volunteers who showed up whenever at the time it was a bell rang and suited up and got ready to go. A lot's changed since the 70s, including the fact that your firefighters are all now much better trained. You have somewhat better equipment. Fires are pretty much the same, I think. I don't know. But one thing that's changed dramatically is that fewer people are volunteering. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. So back in the day, I can honestly say technology has advanced the number of fire calls that we get throughout a year. Back even into the early 90s, we got as few calls as 100 calls per year. Now we're running about 400 calls per year just for North Penn alone.
Wow, that's more than one a day.
Yep, just running over one a day on average. You get a good thunderstorm or a blizzard or something, it always affects it even more. In terms of the volunteers, you can only spread the volunteer world so far and expect people to make it out so often. Technology nowadays, everybody has alarm systems, so we get a lot more fire alarms.
Automatic fire alarms
that are going off for burnt food or steam from the shower. But it's the systems are doing their job. If you burn food and you create smoke, the system's doing its job. With that being said, we have a lot more responsibilities and a lot more calls to run too. Back in the day, you had 40, 45 people to come out to every call that you had, and you only ran 100 calls a year. Nobody wanted to miss anything. Nowadays, we average anywhere between 10 to 15 calls a day, or I'm sorry, volunteers per call. And with that, that's on an average. So during the day, we might only get 4 people while everybody are at work. But then at night, we can make some of those numbers up. Here at North Penn, we're pretty lucky. We're about half and half. So our numbers match during the daytime and nighttime, but you never know when everybody's available. That's the tough part of a volunteer organization, which is the reason we work so strongly with our neighboring companies, Wissahickon, Whippane, Upper Gwinnett, Montgomery Township, Lansdale, and we train with these members because you never know when you're going to be running calls with them.
All right, and sometimes the fire companies that you mentioned might have a paid worker or 2 or 4, right?
Yeah, so Montgomery Township has 4 full-time career staffed members, and we heavily count on them for their assistance, especially during the daytime. Whippane as well. I believe Whippane has 3 career members on during the day. And again, we count on them a lot of the time as well. They are a huge assistance to us during the daytime.
All right, and that's because during the daytime, since all of you have real jobs or regular jobs, most of you are at your regular place of business, right?
Yes, that's another thing. Back in the day when you ran a lot fewer calls, you were able to, a lot of businesses allowed you to leave. That's few and far between now. I personally am very lucky. Axe does let me run calls during the daytime, but you can't take advantage of it. You can only leave for certain things. Bunch of false alarms, things along those lines you don't want to, leave for. But Axe is still very good about letting me leave. North Wales Water Authority right here in the borough, they let their workers who are members of our department, they let them come out during the day. And then we have some people that work third shift at night, and that helps to have them here during the daytime as well.
Right, I saw Jim Gray of Upper Gwinnett got an award because he hit more of those daytime fire calls than anybody else.
Yes.
I've known him for a long time. He also grew up right around here.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about training, because I do think that the training is better now than it was back in the day.
The training absolutely is better. It's much more detailed. Back in the day, even when I started 17 years ago, to get interior qualified, it was only 88 hours. It's now 196 hours.
And what does interior qualified mean?
So that means to respond to a fire call, put an air pack on, and actually go into a burning building. It's now 196 hours of training. And you sit there and you say, okay, that's a lot of hours when you really sit there and break it down. But then if you think of the reverse side, you're putting an air pack on and risking your life going into a burning building. Now all of a sudden it doesn't sound like that much training to do such a job.
You want to know what you're doing when you do it.
Sure. So it's tough. And then try to tell a volunteer, a mother, a father with children, that they need to do 196 hours of training at night after they're done work from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., 2 nights a week and on the weekends. Wow. You're asking a lot of a new member to be involved in the volunteer world.
So it cuts both ways. It's good to have the training, but at the same time, it requires a big commitment of time from your volunteers.
Exactly.
So tell me, what would make a person volunteer for the North Penn Fire Company or Wissahickon or Center Square or wherever?
It's the best feeling in the world to be there when somebody needs help. And to know that you helped somebody and see that they came out of an accident safely, or you were able to save their home from burning down, is the best feeling in the world. You're just there for them when they need you. Volunteering in the firehouse is not just responding to fire calls, however.
Okay. So if you look like me and you're not really going to be able to put on one of those packs and run into a burning building?
We will never turn anybody down from volunteering, but there's much more that goes into it. We have our quick response services here at North Penn, and that's called our QRS program, and that provides medical attention. So
that QRS unit I've seen at the William Penn Inn.
Yes.
So how does that happen? What happens there?
So basically what happens is call 911, somebody's choking, let's just say. They call 911, you would normally get an ambulance. You will still get an ambulance, but our service, the idea is to get there before the ambulance, provide first aid, CPR, medical attention to the patient prior to EMS's arrival, and then EMS, the ambulance will actually do the transporting to the hospital.
So if a person's at the William Penn Inn at a wedding maybe, or some other festive occasion, and they have a heart attack or something like that, you guys respond?
We do, yes. We respond with our QRS unit, and that's another completely volunteer portion of our fire department.
So you would need to have EMT type training to do that, but you don't have to put on a heavy pack and run into a burning building.
Yep, and that's just one other portion of it. The other portion that we have is supporting the firehouse. We are a volunteer organization. We do get money from fire tax. However, we do fundraisers left and right. We just recently, this past weekend, had a bingo fundraiser. We do
with the handbags, as I recall.
Yes, handbags. Yes, I was not into all the handbags, but it was a great event.
Money,
exactly.
Okay, good.
We do coin pitches twice a year.
You stand there with a big boot and hope people toss some money in.
Toss some money in. We do one on Black Friday. We do all sorts of fundraisers for the department.
That a volunteer could help with,
Exactly.
even if they weren't physically able to do some of the other stuff.
Exactly. So what we have is we have actually 3 different types of membership within our department, and a lot of departments are kind of organized the same way. We have what's called an active member, so somebody that answers to 911 calls, whether it be for fire police directing traffic at an accident scene, or responding to a fire alarm or a building fire, or our QRS department responding to medical emergencies. They're our active members. Then we have life members who have been around forever. They're 20 plus years within the department. I know the number of years changes kind of at different, departments run the different numbers of years. But here it's 20 years of membership, and you become a life member, so you're never forgotten about.
But what do you do for the fire company as a life member?
Well, you can do whatever you want, honestly. You've kind of given your time, and just out of respect, you're still a member to us. We have plenty of life members that still run calls for us, that answer the 911 alarms, and we have others that just come out and help with events. And that same thing, that third classification of membership that we have is called contributing membership. And basically they come out and contribute their time. We used to do hoagie sales.
Right.
That was an event that we did. It was very time consuming. We've opted to go about some different routes as that didn't pan out for us very well. But contributing members are awesome for those things. They come out and help with those so that the active membership doesn't need to. They can focus on training, Monday night drills, running the 911 calls.
Okay, so just hold that thought.
Okay.
And we will put on the screen all of the contact information for our volunteer fire companies in the area, so that if anybody wants to come out and help, they can do a contributing role, or they can sign up to be an active member and get the training so that they're safer when they run into a burning building, right?
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay, so we're going to take a break now, and we'll be right back. Don't go away. Stay with us for the rest of the Legislative Report. Welcome back to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Kate Harper, and I'm here with Mike Janssens, Chief of the North Penn Volunteer Fire Company. We're talking about the volunteer fire service and how it could use a little help from the community these days, with fewer people around to volunteer and spend the time in training necessary to become a proficient firefighter, but there are still other things that a volunteer can do. So let's talk a little bit about what motivates somebody to put on the gear and run into a burning building.
So again, I refer back to the fact that you're helping somebody else, and it honestly is the best feeling in the world to be there in somebody's time of need, to be there to assist them. We also have what comes with the volunteer world is second family. I have a family, and I have a son who's 2 years old. I also have a family of another 65 people right here in the firehouse. We know what everybody's doing every day because we work with these people constantly. We have training every Monday night. These people are family, and when they have a problem, you're there for them as well. I can tell you that our deputy chief currently is driving to Boston right now, and he will send me a text message the minute he gets there just to let us know he made it safely. We work together. We're a big team, and we become a family, and we're all there for each other. Everybody has family, but is family not the best thing in the world? Is it not wonderful when you sit down for Thanksgiving with 40 people around a table? And yeah, it's hectic, but you know you're always there for each other. And that's one of the benefits you get out of being a volunteer. It's truly an amazing feeling.
So as chief, it's part of your job to keep that esprit de corps and the feeling of family and the group together as a team, right?
It is, absolutely. And just like, and you know firsthand, politics are tough. Politics play a part in every volunteer organization, and people will have their own motives. But you have to remember at the end of the day, your family. Your life counts on everybody else. As the chief of the department, I can't do anything without every member behind me, supporting me, being there for me, and being there when the alarms go off. If I'm not available, I have to count on everybody else to be there. You just have to work as a team. It's all about teamwork. There is no I, and the more people that are a part of your team, the better off it is for everybody.
All right, so I think you're telling me why people stick around 20 years and become life members,
Yes.
because they join the team and they don't want to let each other down.
Correct, yes, absolutely. When you go to a burning building, it's not just one person that's running in on a hose line and putting the fire out. There's a whole team that has to go in and do it. We follow NFPA standards, and NFPA has what they recommend the number of people that should be on what we would call a first alarm fire. So a typical house fire, and we go in and we have a bedroom that's on fire. They have recommendations. We have something called the 2 in, 2 out rule. For every 2 people that you send in, you have 2 people that are available to relieve those 2 people. Or if something happens, they could go get those 2 people. So with that being said, right off the bat, you put one hose line in service with 4 people on it, you just doubled the number of people that you need. You need 8 people on that call. And that's just to put the hose line in service. That extinguishes the fire. What about opening the windows so that you can get rid of the smoke? Because you have to clear the smoke out, let alone the people that are on the inside. You want them to be able to see where they're going the best they can. That's another what we call truck company operation, and that's another 4 to 6 people that you need. It's a big team, and you need the more people, the better. Back in the day, everybody used to have a house fire and it was only 1 or maybe 2 companies that responded. Now we operate off of something that's called the box system. We work around and use our supporting companies. They work with us and we support them. So as many calls as we run in North Wales and Lower Gwinnett, we're running just as many into Montgomery Township or Upper Gwinnett, assisting with pain.
And they're assisting you when you need it.
Exactly, yep. We operate as a gigantic team. So on top of your team of 40 and your family of 40 that you have within the department, you build a relationship outside of there with your neighboring companies.
All right, so let's talk also about the changes that have come in our communities. In the last 20 years, we've had a lot of new developments, new people coming in. We've had people coming in who actually come from bigger places, maybe the city of Philadelphia or other cities, where they're not used to a volunteer fire service. Are there any issues involved in that?
It's funny that you mentioned that, actually, Kate, because we run into a portion of our municipality that we do run First Due and truly believes we are a career-staffed fire department, and they don't disrespect you any less, whether you're a career or volunteer, because you're there for them. You're answering the call. But they believe this service is there at their begging call, which we are. However, the more calls, and the volunteer world, we're losing people. Not as many people are joining. The people coming from, we'll call it the city, if you would, that they're used to career staffing. They don't volunteer their time. They're not used to it. They think that the township's supplying them a fire service, and we are, but it's volunteer.
So that's something that people need to learn about to see how the fire service works here.
Absolutely. And realize that their help would be appreciated. Anything they can do to help us, whether it's becoming an active member or a contributing member and assisting us with events that we do in the community or fundraisers that we have, anything along those lines.
All right, and I think it's fair to mention, as you know, I was a former township supervisor, so I did a lot of local budgets. Yes. The police department, also a very necessary part of any emergency response, takes up about half of any local budget.
Yes.
Half. So I guess if we had to pay you guys we'd have to double the budget.
Yeah, absolutely. We have neighboring companies that have career staff that we talked about earlier. You got to figure if you have, again, 2 in, 2 out rule. The basis should be you have a 4-person crew during the day if you were a career staff. That's what NFPA standards would require for safety reasons, for your membership. Start paying them $60,000, $70,000 a year each on an annual basis, and then you're paying health insurance and benefits. It adds up. You're paying, from a municipality, you're paying over $100,000 per person. Times that by 4. It's $400,000 into your budget to have career staffing.
Right. So the volunteers not only save a lot of money, but I mean the quality of service that we get. Now, I happen to know, but I don't think most of our viewers know, what's your average response time?
We have an average response time. The way the county works is you actually have 4 minutes from the time your pager goes off, which is our notification saying that there is a call, to the time that somebody should be signing on the radio and a truck should be en route to the emergency. We personally at North Penn are very lucky because we are in a borough. Our response time is cut dramatically. We're averaging about 2.5 minutes to get on the street. And again, that's an average, but 2 to 2.5 minutes to get on the street and responding to your emergency.
Okay, so at night, you're home sleeping in your bed,
Yep.
and you get a pager because the bell doesn't ring anymore, right? The whistle doesn't go off. You get a page. Is that how it works?
Yes. So we actually have what's called digital paging. So you get a little message. It tells you what it is, where the address is. We also have voice paging. We have tones that go off that activate a pager. Then it beeps in your ear, and people have to put that right next to their ear because some people are sound sleepers. Other people hear everything through the night. They get notification that we get a call. They jump up out of bed in the middle of the night, respond in their pajamas, and clear the snow off their car in the wintertime or the frost. Respond to the firehouse, run into the firehouse, have to get dressed, and then get on the trucks, and they do it all in 2.5 minutes on average.
And they get to my house in 4 minutes.
Yeah, so actually,
Unbelievable.
It's amazing what we can do. We have what's called a response time, which means we need to be on the road in 4 minutes to actually be at the location of the emergency. The national standard is about 8 minutes. And that, again, is going to depend how far do you have to go. If we're going right here in town, it's easy. I mean, we don't have far to go. It's 1 square mile around. We don't have far to go. But if we're going down into Lower Gwynedd or something of those lines, it's a little bit further away. But sure, if by the time you call 911 in under 10 minutes, we'll be at your house, knocking on your door.
And that is actually faster than some big city units can respond.
Absolutely, yes, definitely.
And have you there.
Yep. And it's a great, like I said, it's a great feeling to know that you can make that call to 911 and all of a sudden you have all these people at your doorstep ready to help you and see what you need.
Okay, so the legislature has in recent years done a number of things to make it possible for local governments to help out their fire companies. We've enacted legislation that would let townships and boroughs have tax credits and things like that. But and that's actually not in effect in any of my 61st district municipalities, I don't think. But I also know that you do get some tax revenues.
Correct.
So you're all volunteers, so where does the tax revenue go and what do you need it for?
Sure, so currently we have a new engine, it's sitting right over there, and that new engine just cost us $525,000.
$525,000?
That's correct.
For a fire truck?
And that's for
Wow,
an
it's
engine.
more than my house.
Yes. Well, it didn't even get to the big truck. So we currently are in the middle of replacing our ladder. That's why we have our engine here behind us. Normally we would have a ladder sitting behind us. We're currently in the middle of getting a new ladder. We sold our old one. It was 25 years old when we sold it. It was time for a new one, quite frankly.
You traded in a 25-year-old fire truck?
Yes. Well, actually, and there's companies that aren't as fortunate as we are that need things.
Okay.
So they bought it from us used, and it's suiting them very well. We actually have a relationship with them now, and they're actually out in Indianapolis, and they're sending us videos all the time. Last night, I was just on Facebook watching a video that they had
of
our truck responding to a call, and it's funny because all our members get on there, and you miss it. I mean, you really miss it. You run a lot of calls in these trucks. Our new ladder truck's going to cost us $1.2 million.
$1.2 million for
Yep.
one fire truck.
One piece of apparatus. That's
Wow.
correct. And that does
How are you paying for that?
donations, fundraising events,
Tax revenues?
tax revenues, any way that we can.
And you're probably
These
going to
are
have to
big
borrow
struggles.
for some of it.
We'll
right?
definitely be taking a loan out as well, absolutely. Money is, unfortunately, in the volunteer world, money's a huge thing. We just received this week brand new radios. Now, that's your lifeline when you're in a fire.
Right, those are the county radios?
Yes, $192,000 worth of radios we just bought.
Wow.
They're a lifeline. You have to have them. But that's the price tag that you put on it. On top of that, a new piece of apparatus, $1.2 million. We just recently bought new air packs. That was $300,000 on new air packs.
Have air packs.
You have to have it. These are all things that we have to have. I mean, it makes us do our job. It allows us to protect you.
Right.
But it costs us money to do it as well.
Right. So when people say, well, I pay my fire tax, they kind of have no idea where it really goes,
They
right?
don't have a clue. Nobody understands that just to outfit a firefighter in gear and a helmet and pants and a coat is $5,000 just to do that.
That?
$5,000.
Wow.
But that's their lifeline.
Sure.
When they're sitting in a fire. That's their protection. So these are the things that people don't realize and they don't know. We do a lot of fundraisers and just community events. North Wales does a North Wales Community Day. They call it Community Day. And we just try to get the word out so people can truly understand what it takes. It's not just the time in the volunteer organization, but it takes money to run the department as well.
Buy equipment and fire trucks and things like that.
Absolutely, definitely.
So let's recap a little bit. What you're saying is the North Penn Fire Company, and in fact, all the ones in this area, Upper Gwinnett, Center Square, Wissahickon, did I miss anybody?
No,
Montgomeryville?
Colmar, Fairmont of Lansdale.
They can all use members, money, and people who would contribute their time to do other things for the fire company other than run into burning buildings.
Absolutely. We are looking for any type of volunteer membership that we can take. We never turn down volunteers. We will find something for somebody to do.
Okay, even if they look like this?
Yeah, absolutely, Kate.
Okay.
You're welcome anytime. You know that.
All right. Well, I'm contributing my husband who's helping with the books.
Your husband sits on our board here at North Penn. He's new to our board this year, and we have a monthly meeting, but then once a month we have a board meeting as well. And he has been a huge asset to our board, and it's only been 4 months that he's been, 4 meetings that he's been to, and he's already been a huge help.
And that's the point. Even if whatever skills you have, the fire company can probably use them.
Absolutely. Anything. We have books that we need to keep. As we personally have to respond to the township every year and show them our books. Accounting. We can use the help. We could definitely use the help. Anybody that has fundraising experience, we can use the help. Anything, we can use the help.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. I think, Chief, you've done a great job in telling our community that we can help our fire companies and they need our help. This is State Representative Kate Harper, and you've been watching Legislative Report. In just a moment, address and contact information for me and for our volunteer fire companies in the area will appear on your screen. If you can help out, please help out. We could all use the help. Thank you, and join me again for Legislative Report.